All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Michigan City Tree Board meeting Wednesday, June 5th. Roll call, please.
Connie Anderson.
Here.
Laura Ginther absent. Bill Ginther absent. Laura Henderson.
Here.
Laura Koch.
Present.
Johnny Stanley.
Here.
Nick Wolf.
And I am also present. Everybody have a chance to look over the meeting minutes for May.
I move for approval. Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Meeting minutes for May have been approved. The Secretary Treasurer's report ending May 31st. Everybody have a chance to look at it there?
Move for approval. Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
The Secretary's Treasurer's report ending May 31st has been approved. Okay, we have claims for June. That is Debbie Wilson for Secretarial Services, $200, and board member compensation for attendance.
Move for approval.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the claims for June have been approved. Committee reports. That's myself, Nick Wolf, Laura Clark, and Laura Henderson. Going down the list there, education, gardening, landscaping, public relations, calendar events, and Arbor Day. We can speak to the Arbor Day. I think it was pretty much a success. A lot of help with NIPSCO there. It turned out, I think all the trees that people ordered on the internet were picked up. We gave away everything. We made $65 in donations. That's what I had. I will turn it over to Debbie. It was a pretty nice day.
It was
We
beautiful.
appreciate all the members who came over and helped us all out.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It's not bad.
Everybody was happy to get out of the house, that's for sure. So everybody was happy to be out in that sunshine. So. And we were all thrilled with the selection that we had this year.
Yeah.
I was really excited.
Well, we were too. We didn't know we were
there
gonna
were a
have
couple of
those
surprises that
trees.
came last minute, which were really happy surprises in regards to different products that we were able to give away. So that was nice. Different varieties. So it worked out really nicely.
All right. Oh, well, gardening and landscaping. Guess spring is is here.
Is it though?
One day here, one day not.
I've seen a lot of trees out there struggling.
Yes.
The oaks seem to have come out of it, but I've seen some of the old traditional sassafrasses. I think they got hurt, and their leaves are small. They're blooming late, so before you put them down and out, I think they'll have a flush of leaves. So it's just going to be late before they really fill out. But you see a lot of them look kind of really small. I think the buds probably got damaged in some of those late season snowstorms. So in the cold nights that we had. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know, Laura, you have anything?
I agree. We're seeing such a delay in a handful of different trees. And it's really interesting what did push out really early and then what pushed out really late versus the usual routine of how that goes. And so people, broadleaf evergreens, I had mentioned at the last meeting, there's a lot of things that came up about that. And we're seeing, though, that people gave enough patience before they ripped it out of the ground that things are pushing out. But they did get a lot of those harsh winter winds. And azaleas especially, found a lot of people come into the garden center and say the whole top of it has been dead. But then it's now pushing this week out of the base. And so I always tell people my suggestion is always to wait at least till the second or third week of June before they say that anything is gone, including hydrangea, because hydrangea really are just pushing out of their old wood if they are at all right now, and out of their bases. But we did find that there was a lot of pushback out on the broadleaf evergreens, which is a really good thing. But some people did lose them altogether. Big chunks of boxwood, and that's not only the fungal issue that was going around, but we were finding that they just it wasn't even fungal, and entire boxwood all the way down to maybe a foot of it just were completely frayed out. But another thing I wanted to bring up about boxwood is that there is a big ciliate issue that starts with a PS, and that's an insecticidal issue. And a lot of people were thinking it was the fungal issue that was going on, and it wasn't. And the ciliate, it kind of is a little insect that sucks the life out of those little leaves, and it'll start at the top where it looks like it's the new growth pushing out, but it's actually that the plant is curling up, and it's got a little webbing in there and a little spottiness in there, and you'll see little dots on the leaves too, and little webbing, and it's treatable. There's horticultural oil that's out there, and 2 to 3 applications usually wipes it out, and then you're seeing all the boxwood happy, flushing back out. Give them some good fertilizer. Hollytone has that good bacteria in them, and you're finding that they're strong and they're pushing out really nice, which is good. But some people had to entirely remove their boxwood, and I think people need to be aware that there is the fungal issue that is out there. And if they're concerned that that is the issue, Purdue does some amazing testing, and so you can get online and set up to send them a sample and get they do phenomenal reports, and they'll tell you exactly how they want it sent, and how much of it, and when to ship it so it gets there fresh so they can appropriately diagnose it. So they are out there and more than willing to check on that for you. And I think at this time, if you get it shipped, I think it's maybe $20 or $25 after all is said and done, something around there. It's under $30 to do it, but it's worth it in a lot of different circumstances. So keep that in mind.
Laura, do you know if Purdue they used to do landscape design, for their programs? I guess the kids would do that. Are they still doing that?
Are they offering courses and classes?
Well,
They're
courses, they used to, this has been years ago, they used to, if you would send them dimensions of your yard and everything in your house.
Oh, I don't know.
It was actually for students who were doing that.
Yeah. For students that are part
exactly.
of it.
And you would send all that to them, and they would come up with some kind of a landscape design for your house. I mean, it would take a year to do that, but I just wondered if you knew they were still doing it or not.
I don't know that they are. I didn't know that they did that. I knew that they offered classes through Purdue, the different outlets of Purdue, for landscape design. And I can see how that would be actually beneficial per testing, for anybody who's going through that. But I don't know if they do that anymore. Did you know that they did that? I didn't know. That's amazing.
Maybe it's been too long ago.
No.
They do a lot. I mean,
they do so much. They really do.
They do.
That's a profit center for them. So I imagine they probably still do.
Yeah. I check online. They have so many different outlets. It's just phenomenal, even in regards to educating the public about the different issues that are going around. You reach out to them. They have so much information. They have so much information on their sites alone. Then they're more than willing to help with all of it.
And then another question that you would know because of the plants and things. What kind of a mosquito repellent is safe to use? Because they are just terrible.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's been another really big thing that has come up. There are products with cedar oil in them, and there's one that's by Fertilome High Yield. I think it's their the Natural Guard line, and it's got cedar oil, and it works really, really well.
Really?
We put it to the test. A couple of different customers have, and a couple of different locations where they do outdoor dining. And it's very, very safe, and it lasts a long time, actually. And it doesn't have all the different DEET or pyrethroids and whatnot in it. And it's important to think about that kind of stuff, when you're out there. There's different products that you can apply, and as long as you wait a certain amount of time, it's very safe to still go out after. You just have to read those directions. But it's really nice when we find those products that are actually natural and less abrasive, and that one is one of them. And it's got a cedar oil in it.
Okay.
And at the next meeting, I'm happy to give you that exact name. But if you go on, you'll find that product.
Well, I actually was going to spray some of the yard stuff
Yeah.
that's very potent, and I happened to read it, and it dawned on me my dog is out there,
Oh, yes.
and I
yes.
thought, oh, I better ask.
There's another product that has a garlic base and it doesn't smell like garlic, or it
Yeah.
might for the first hour.
Yeah.
And it works amazing too. And
Really?
it's a hose end. Yeah,
Okay, well, let's move this on.
they're good. So,
Okay.
but there's been a lot of people have come in and
I'm
it
sorry,
is a
Mick,
big
I got some stuff to say too.
Okay.
Okay.
So now
This is
Laura.
this is garden stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is tree stuff.
Okay.
You may have heard something about this. You can take one and pass. Sudden oak death, and a bunch of rhododendrons were imported into big box stores in this state that are infected with sudden oak death. So if you know of a rhododendron that's not looking too hot, but it's also, it can hang out in viburnums, azaleas, and camellias, and something else. So it's a shame that it is here. I hope they catch them all and that it doesn't spread to our oak trees. So it's pretty scary. Another thing I just saw today about local sycamore trees. You may have noticed they're looking kind of sickly.
Yes, that's the same thing that's going with the
With the sassafras. Okay. So apparently it's due to its anthracnose, but it's expected to clear up when or maybe I should say if the weather gets drier and warmer, because it thrives in this cold, damp weather. So
Anthracnose attacks also the dogwoods also. But the dogwoods seem to have bloomed out very nicely this year. They usually start getting kind of ratty looking when we have the same instance in the fall. But the sycamores, yes, they are having issues the same.
And the anthracnose is treatable. There's systemic fungicides that are out there, but it's such a pain in the butt to do. It's just ugly. It's just really ugly.
It doesn't really hurt the tree per se. The leaves will flush out again with new leaves. It's a natural in the environment. There's nothing we're going to really do about it. Well, you can't treat it.
It stifles a little bit of the blooming, and I think that's why people end up treating it, and is because of that stifling of the blooming. But he's right. It's more of an eyesore when it comes down to it. So
Thank you very much for
yeah.
closest place for rhododendrons that were purchased in South Bend.
This is scary. You know, there was a systemic, there was a harboring disease that was in the soil that rhododendrons had for quite a while that is still around, and where people would put a new one in and it would die. Put a new one in and it would die. They found that it was that reoccurring, almost like with the impatiens that had come around. Well, and so you'd have to dig out the whole area, put fresh soil in, or just not put a rhododendron or anything from that family in there. So this is, wow, yeah. Scary. Viburnum? Wow, azalea, all those.
I bought all of those too.
From South Bend.
From South Bend, right now.
And those shrubs, it affects them, but it doesn't kill them. So you have to look at it and see if it's got a problem.
Sort of just watch. I mean, what would I watch for?
Wilting is usually a common sign if you're seeing it really, really wilting.
Really well.
That's usually in curling, is usually one of the first signs, yeah.
So then I would talk to Purdue to see what it is. Because hopefully it's not that.
Yes, right.
Alrighty. Anything any more under outreach? Alright, we'll move down here. We don't have a forester tonight, and that will affect the committee reports for city park trees, city street trees, the grant application, purchasing and planting, the planning department. I haven't really seen anything that directly affects the tree board.
Can you bring us up to date on our new person that we are getting?
I will do that once we're done here.
Okay.
We will talk about that. The urban forest management plan, tree city designation. I don't know. Did we ever find anything out where that stuff was?
Yeah, we got some of it.
Yes, okay, so, alrighty,
I haven't seen a letter though, but
alrighty. Goals for fundraising, any goals? Any fundraising events we talked about?
Did you, anybody talk with Johnny? We had, last meeting, I think, we had sort of thought as a group discussion here that we would like to do our fundraising projects and efforts mainly to benefit the, I don't know what we're calling that. Is we calling it the zoo garden? What are we calling it?
To fund your garden.
Yeah.
That's
So
going to be our focus.
that's going to be our
Yeah.
fundraising
Appreciate
focus.
that.
I know.
Yeah, we thought we all were in agreement that we thought that we would enjoy doing that as well as help you out with that too. So that's sort of what conclusion we've come to. So I have been checking into a couple of things, but I kind of wanted to talk to you too at some point to see, put your input into what you think would be a good fundraiser too. So that's where we're at with that.
All right. I guess we'll step out for a second here and go back to this Forester. Melissa, something or another.
Mullins.
Mishki.
Miski?
Okay.
Mishki?
And what's the bio on her? Who is she? What is she? This is the first time I've heard of it.
Me too.
I mean, it certainly states in the ordinance that the tree board is supposed to have a little something with the applicant to see if that's.
But we didn't with Amanda, we didn't with
I
Adam.
know, but we brought it up in the last meeting too, and you know, it seems everybody else knows about it. I just don't want to get stuck here. You know, it just seems like personally that the city is hiring a person for vector control and not a forester.
I emailed the mayor
And I know there
about
was
that, and he said that the jobs are separated in the 2019 budget. So
Fantastic.
I hope that's
Well,
it's about time.
It's a problem.
that doesn't mean that we hire a forester, or what do you know about it, Johnny? You seem to know more than anybody.
I just know, like you said, it's hired through the central services, the Forester is. And I'm sure the mayor has a little bit to do with it. Like I said, I didn't know anything until I walked in, you know, about another subject that I addressed to, and they said they hired Melissa. So that's about as much as I know about it. But as far as being in the 2019 budget, or it would be 2020 budget for next year.
Well, you said 19, but maybe he meant 20.
19 for 20 maybe.
He probably meant 20.
Maybe it's in his plans to present it in front of the council for their agreement for the next year's. But as far as the budget is concerned, the council has seen nothing until I believe August we get the budget proposals.
So we have no,
Still don't have much of a say-so.
I don't want to say so, but just input or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I know that since the last meeting when we did talk about it, and nobody was hired yet, and we didn't know what the actual the criteria were. There was a barrage of emails, and people did send to the mayor's office, to the mayor himself. And, you know, I totally agree with what was said. It just seems that, you know, over the years, you know, we assumed that this person's salary was derived 50-50. Well, it should have becoming more vector control than a forester. And that job was chasing away these candidates that we had. I mean, Amanda, I don't know, I think maybe there was something else with Adam, but people are coming in to do the forest management, not to be out there cutting grass and chasing rats.
Right.
That's a lot to cover in total. That is a lot.
You know, it should be a 20-20 or, you know, 20 hour for this. And I know Adam wasn't doing 20 hours a week this last go around when he was here for his little 6-month stay. that's I'm still going around on that Michiana deal. I can't even get the superintendent to call me back. I've been nice to field his calls whenever he's had a problem. I've been hearing, he'll give me an email. I heard it so many times, it's like a broken record. So I'm
Copied me.
I guess I had just we just talked to the mayor outside, so I kind of hope this Melissa here should have probably emailed us a little bit to stay, who she is and her credentials and some ideas. I mean,
So this is very fresh. Clearly,
Well, I would think-
none of us even really.
Well, I would think vector control, if they're doing the hiring, as a courtesy even, they would let you know or something.
I assume that, and that's I'm
That
is a
not
sore
that we have a
spot.
say, but I would think that since we are working so closely with that position, that maybe they would just at least acknowledge that there has been someone hired. Maybe.
Well, you definitely seen when there was separated and Frank was the forester. There was no other tags on his name.
Right.
There was grants flying and things were getting done. Prisoners were being used, but labor was being used to plant trees. Simple trimming was getting done by Frank. It wasn't going outside. These little things were getting done in-house. We lost that in-house.
Well, it sounds
Stuff.
like the ones they're hiring now, though, their expectation is really to do 2 jobs. So when Frank was here, I'm sure he was focused on doing that job. But it seems like the ones coming in, they're loading them down with jobs, 2 jobs, basically.
Yeah, there's not a
Vector control.
separation, and
Right.
there's to do vector control alone with the amount of people that they have. That just takes.
Well, they
so
probably
much
pull
time.
them off of one job when they need them over here, which means that they're sometimes not following through and all sorts of
So
Well,
we
that's
should
why
see-
the forester needs to handle some of these little things by themselves, which certainly can be done and was being done. That's where we should strive to get back to. Or I simply thought that maybe this new person should keep a log on what they do for their 20 hours a week and sit there and submit it to the board and see if that can and then we can see where our labors are going and we need the oversight. We're doing all this great work, but it seems like we're losing it at the street level again. We're going back to where we were, and
So they do specifically 20 hours a week of that particular work?
I don't know how they're doing it now, but I assume when you hire somebody to be vector control / forester, it should be a
Or are they
split job.
Are they planting flowers in the park? What are they doing? You know what I'm saying?
We don't know.
but right. I mean, we don't know, and we might be expecting way too much out of when they
Well,
hire-
this is why we need the jobs separated. So
Right, exactly.
we need to make sure that that is in the upcoming budget.
I know, when we had these programs going, we got the appropriation of the $50,000. I was working, hand in hand with Adam on a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm not sure if it went by the wayside, if he kept notes, or if she has notes, or what happened with that, but I know I was in communication with him at least once or twice a week,
Well, that's good. I mean, that's just doing logistics. I mean, Laura and I, that's in a normal day of business. That's that's a normal thing that we do. But
Is there anything we can do to help correct it or move it along?
well, that's why I was hoping that we, it's 6 months is over. We need to. We missed probably a with the Woodruffs going out of business, I think that was a deal that was lost.
Yeah.
We did talk to NIPSCO on Arbor Day there on their replacement rate on trees that they took out, so we have to probably really get on them. I think that's a first priority that forester needs to do, is find out and start moving on Arbormetrics, which is the forester that NIPSCO contracts to start putting an order together and get these spots picked out. And that's going to be that's going to be an endeavor right there in itself.
Yeah, like you said, I don't want to. I know that people have busy schedules, and I know Melissa couldn't make it tonight, but we could always have a special meeting before the next month's meeting to get to know her, kind of.
Well, I think she just should have emailed us.
Did you say her father passed away?
Yes.
Today.
Well, her father may have been ill.
That's fine, but I think we should.
When was she hired? I mean, when?
She was hired, her first day was like a couple of days after our meeting.
So they were actually playing with this deal before
And
us.
I'm sure they knew it because we received an email with, and she was one of the addressees. Her name was there.
Well, maybe we should, just talk to somebody. Who is the person at Vector Control? Who is the head?
Bob Saunders,
Bob?
Central Services.
Central, yeah. Maybe we should just request that, they keep us informed, that,
Well, it's been hard. I've been writing emails to Mr. Zonder until my fingers are falling off. But he writes me an email, I take care of it, but when I write his email, I don't hear nothing back.
Well,
so that's how far
maybe we need to just make a personal appearance and just say, hey, hi, we're in the neighborhood, and I can do that. That doesn't bother me. Hi, Bob, how are you? Just kind of was wondering that you guys hired somebody, and we just don't have any. It'd been kind of nice if somebody had just mentioned it to us, so we don't look like a bunch of goofballs. No, but I'm always, emails are fine, but sometimes if you want to get something done, you really have to take a step out.
Well, I was going to work with the forester in May for the Wabash Street Gardens, so I emailed Bob Zonder about it.
Yeah.
And I copied the mayor. I did get a response.
From Bob?
Yeah. And the mayor.
Boy, oh boy.
Good.
But I think you got to copy the mayor.
I guess.
Yeah. So where are we at with it? We have a new.
I guess we have a new
I
forester.
agree with
Forester.
Johnny that we should try and set up a little meeting so we can get to know
I
her
think so.
and,
Sounds like a great
welcome
idea.
her.
And welcome
And
her.
I am very excited that she's here because we need it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's do everything that we can to make it a successful kickstart for her.
Yeah.
Anything that we can. And if it is voicing as much as we need to, about that separation over and over again, then I think that's important. So I think that's where we should go from
Well,
there.
and actually, we don't even really know what her job description is. Seriously, we might be expecting more than what they're telling her. The
And
job
maybe her
Well,
job
mine is
description
just-
needs to be changed.
Right. You know what I'm saying.
It's in the ordinance. But basically, we're not asking for anything more than what's in the ordinance. But they seem
But
to
if
hire
you give
people that have
somebody two jobs and pay them for
exactly.
one, you can't expect them to do either one completely.
Well,
they come in and say, well, we got an environmental degree, and we're in. I know some stuff about horticulture. Okay, well, horticulture is different than arboriculture, unfortunately, by the right and the left. So they are kind of overlooked, what's just in the ordinance alone, where it says, that the applicants are to be kind of brought forth to the board here for our
Yeah,
input, yes.
input. Well, the thing of it is, I would imagine when they're doing the hiring, they're hiring for what they need.
They were hiring for vector control.
Exactly. They're not, and the other one is just going to be an add-on, you know. So I feel a little sorry for the person who gets hired because they're probably in the middle there a little bit, you know, until they get a grasp, a
They've
real
been
grasp.
stretched a little thin the last 2 times.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's what the problem is. Some
But a lot of
people
our
don't
grants that we get from the state, you know, and that's one of their things that we signed on a long time ago, that we would have a person
Right.
with these qualifications in place,
Right.
that the money, when it was granted to us, would be used, and you know, that person met the criteria. Now, we told Adam that he had a year to get his certification.
Right.
And this will also stand for Melissa also. So,
I agree with you, though. I think we just have to think positive with it and just say, thank goodness we have one now, and we support her and try
And
to...
we need to be more vocal about
Right,
how we can help her. That is maybe a part of our job a
Yeah.
little bit too, is just to make sure that everything continues to.
So when do we want to have this meeting?
Yeah. Well, she's probably...
Let's
Not
give her
available.
2 weeks
Right,
with the
right.
family thing and hope
Right.
that maybe she can meet that 3rd week on a Wednesday
I can't.
evening. Not you? Okay, 4th week. Right before the meeting? Where are we at with
Well,
the schedule if that's the case?
Oh, we could do it before the meeting. Well, that would put us at 5:30. It's too early.
it's going to be getting crazy around there too.
Right, yeah.
You know, when we got July 3rd, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We
that's
should
right.
probably already talk about that
Yeah.
for sanity reasons of purposes alone as well. But yeah, that be rescheduled to the next week, maybe. I don't know.
Well, let's email each other on that and
Okay.
pick out a time. Alrighty.
Just let me know, you guys.
Okay, old business. We'll go to old business. Back on the agenda. Old business, that's the workman's comp. I don't know, did we ever reach out to the attorney there?
We have not connected with about any of that. No updates yet this time.
Alrighty, new business. A couple months, or I think it was in April, we did talk about the deal that we made with, what was her name? The real estate agent,
Mickey.
Nikki Gales.
I happen to have flown by her residence, and she has lots of new trees.
But none of them the city tree lawn or the caliper that we designated for the deal.
I know she has some larger, there's one that was 3-inch. I know that she's still in the midst of planting though. I happen to have connected about that.
So should we give her another month of 30
I think
days?
so, because she is planting and planting and planting. And out of that, yes, let's give her 1 more month.
All right.
Okay, and I'll connect with her and let her know that we spoke about that.
Any other new business? All right, moving down the list. Board member comments.
I know I've just been getting I've been getting quite a bit of calls about trees on city property the past 2 weeks. So I just wanted to add that in there. So
Any certain what seems to be the gist of the emails or the calls?
dead trees,
trees, okay.
that need to be taken down. That was under the Adam that people haven't with the transition.
Okay. Were you able to satisfy them?
I personally went over there and met with a couple of them. So
Thank you.
That's good.
so next week I got the addresses and their concerns, so I'll pass it on to the forester.
All right.
Did we have wind? I mean, was there any trees that came down because of that wind and storms and stuff?
Just a lot of branches. I did see.
Yeah.
I think a lot of branches, stuff like that. I mean, with efforts over the years, a lot of the bigger stuff has been dealt with. Limbs, but you can't, it's Mother Nature. But I think probably because of the cold winter, it probably did, trees that were struggling, probably their fate was dealt, so there probably would be more this year than the average year. Alrighty. Any more public or board member comments? Any public comments? We have a bunch of public here tonight.
Yes.
This is unusual.
Mine's a small one.
Alright, please state your name for the record and then whatever you would like to talk about.
Fine. My name is Janet Toyra Smith. I live at 408 East 8th Street. It's the north side of 8th Street. And I'm just a couple of houses off of Cedar. And in front of my 408 driveway, I have a tree on either side that was planted in the Elstone Grove rehab, when they rehabbed and then they gave us some trees. And I always forget the name of it, but Lauren...
Service berry.
Service berry. Okay, they're both a service berry, one on either side of my driveway. And the one on the west side of the driveway is totally dead. Nothing's happened with it this year. And they were all blooming beautiful last year. And the one on the east side of the driveway, you could draw a picture and draw a line right down the middle of it. The west side is dead, the east side is alive of the one tree. It's really unusual. But I feel it could be from the salt in the road that is thrown very far over as they come plowing down 8th Street on the north side. That's their route. On the north side, just plow it over and throw it over because it's on the sidewalk and the grass and everything else. And the reason it may have happened is that the house immediately to the east of me, 413 I believe is the address, East 8th Street, is a rental. And people have a not a truck, it's a, what is it, four-wheel, whatever those deals are, okay, SUV. And it parks in front of there all of the time, and she doesn't work exact hours because she's on multiple shifts at the gaming boat. So it could be working nights, or it could be days, or it could be 3 hours here and 2 hours there, it's crazy. But they've never moved their truck during any of the snowstorms where they clean off 8th Street, because it's one of the streets that you will get a ticket if your car is out there. And even though other people have moved their cars, that car seems to slide by, whether it's the hours that the police check it or whatever, but the car is an environmental hazard. It is leaking gasoline and it is leaking oil. And if you look at the street, you will see how black it is from where it's been sitting for the last 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. And I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I walk out my front door and I can smell the gasoline when she's there. It just pours out of the car, and she's told me that it's bad. But anyway, that car never moved during the winter, so the plow would come on the north side of 8th Street in a westerly direction, and it would be plowing along. It would go around that car, and my driveway's the next driveway. And when it goes around and it picks up more salt and it just dumps and starts flying, I've gotten it for umpteen years with this problem with the snow plows. But the fact that the police didn't ticket it and warn them, because the police they don't want to do that because they feel sorry for people. So they give them a big break. But I think it should have been. That would have solved, or would start, if they would start doing that, it would solve some of our problems. But that's the police problem. But both the trees are shot. So these are trees that are not mine, but they're on city property. And I kept them watered and all of that
So you
stuff.
think it's the salt that actually basically is?
It probably is the salt.
I have no idea what else it could be other than that. I keep my grass mowed and I keep it trimmed and I fertilize the grass and all of this stuff. So I'm not one of your slum people.
We appreciate you doing that.
I do keep my ground clean and neat. So
We do have We do have an, I guess, a allotment of money to buy new trees. We'd be happy to take your address and, you know, we can see if we can replace them with more of a salt-tolerant tree.
That'd be a good idea.
But there's a lot of little variables that got to go into effect. There's probably stuff underneath there. That's probably why a service barrier was pulled or put there in the first place. That's where the forester would actually make the decision on what to put there.
Do you take the tree out, remove it, and put a new one in? Do I just continue to live there with this dead thing in front of my house? What
We
do
will
I
pass
do?
it along
Can I do
to-
anything to help?
Yeah.
We would pass it along, and maybe get a crew out there just to cut it out, so
Less of an eyesore.
it's less of an eyesore.
And the roots they'll work on getting the roots out also.
They'll have to do that to do the new planting too, so
Yes.
there's a limited amount of space and usually in those areas, so they'll have to eventually do that, even if they don't do that right away though. It's usually more protocol to do just a quick slice to get it out, and then when they go for the actual planting, to spend more effort on getting, because those stumps can be.
Do you know what the time frame may be? A year, 6 months, or?
Oh, well, you know,
I know.
when we were talking about it,
Yeah,
we're talking
you've got
about this new
serious
forester and
Trying to
in the
smooth
kind of,
that into place.
that's an issue that, you know, that's
Yeah.
what we're talking
I
about.
understand.
I hope it wouldn't last 6 months. I would hope it only would last 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
But
But we don't
things
want,
work in slow, mysterious ways. That's the best way I can tell you.
you don't want it on a 110-degree day, and I'll have to be watering it 24/7, but.
Well, they
I
probably
understand.
wouldn't. They probably wouldn't. Planning wouldn't happen until the fall.
Yeah, that makes
For
sense.
that
Right now, we
same
don't have any.
seasoning.
We have the monies, but no plantings as of right now.
Okay. But you've got a record, and you put that on your record. So
Yes,
you'll
I've
know
actually,
that
I've got you written down, and if you don't mind, can I have you give me your phone number so you don't have to put it
Yes.
on everybody's record here?
I will do that. Okay, just right under.
Yeah, right under your name.
Got
And you
the
can make
address
sure.
and all.
Yeah, I have it on this other paper, and
Okay.
just make sure that your name is spelled correctly, because I might have butchered it when I wrote it down.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for taking care of the trees. So when we put the new ones in, we appreciate that they're going to a good place. That's for sure.
Well, we're in an area that has a lot of rentals, and the owners of the buildings are out of town. And so a lot of trees have suffered in Elston Grove because of renters not watering them because it's not part of their job, it's the owner's job. And a lot of the houses are so old that they do not have the water spigots. The plumbing has to be done in the house before they can even get water out there, so.
So it's nice to have any of you out there that make that effort. It really is.
Thank you.
Very, very much. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Your name for the record?
Hello, I'm Paul Needhammer, a constituent in Michigan City, and I've got a couple of questions and comments on 3 issues. One, continuing with Janet's service berries, are those like in the winter have little red berries on them? Like there used to be a median just south of the drawbridge between Mady's and Millennium Plaza that before they tried to have a Comcast Cares wildflowers and didn't water it and didn't give it 3 years to grow, and then they wound up digging it up and paving it. But is that
There's no berries on it.
No little red
It
berries.
has those white plumes. If you go along Franklin Street, you remember when they put the trees in and they have these big white blooms? That's what these have. They just have the white bloom that comes out in the spring. They haven't come out yet because it's been such a cold winter. But you'll see them all along Franklin Street where when they did the rehabbing of it many years ago, and we had Sheila Burleson as our mayor, those trees went in and those new lights went in on Franklin.
Those are not service berries.
No, it's not a
okay.
service
Crab
berry.
apple usually hold their berries.
the little
It's
red?
not a-
Yeah,
crab
they'll
apple.
usually hold them longer.
There used, just south of the drawbridge, up until like 6 or 8 years ago, there used to be a few of them in the median there when there was a median, and maybe one died, one was a little iffy, but for some reason they wiped them all out. But
Those were taken out. NIPSCO took those out because they were starting to. They were planted in the wrong spot to the beginning, and they have taken a. NIPSCO is doing a lot of new electric infrastructure improvements. That's why they were taken out. We do have a commitment from NIPSCO to replace a 2-for-1 offer on all those trees. They will be replaced.
I think that's another topic I wanted to cover, but I think the few trees I was talking about is south of the drawbridge in a median area, not by any power lines or anything, and just west of Mady's. But I'll move on from that. NIPSCO replacement rate and arbor metrics. And this may be old business to you, but it's still continuing. And I didn't know how much monitoring you guys communicate with NIPSCO. But I know in December and January, as it was getting in the evening, 5 o'clock, at Lakeshore Drive, there'd be 5 or 6 of these big Asplund trucks with the cherry pickers, some pulling, the wood chippers that are big as a heavy-duty pickup truck behind them.
Yes.
And they'd be, 5 or 6 of them coming down. And they probably, wherever there's a power line, you can see where they cut off branches. Or NIPSCO planted those pear-shaped trees by Fetter's Alley. There was 30 of them. You can see where they sawed the stumps off ground level between Center Street or whatever that is to the entrance to the zoo parking lot. There was 30 of them. They had planted them right under the power lines. And so NIPSCO giveth and NIPSCO taketh away. But you're saying if they take 30 trees out there, they're going to
We're going to get 60 of them back.
Okay. But just in general, that was December and January. And a neighbor of mine had a bozo tree where, they cut out in the middle and it's got like hair on the other side. And he was asking me to keep an eye on it. And sure enough, eventually they got to that. And a lot of where they're cutting more than limbs, when they take down a whole tree and it's near a residential thing, a lot of times you'll see where they stack the logs for the person to get rid of. And so I noticed it going over Center Street. If you see power lines, you'll see branches cut off, you'll see stumps cut off, you'll see logs piled up. I noticed Washington Park Boulevard going over by Hilltop through back towards Liberty Trail. The same thing later, not in December, January, but later in the winter or spring. I noticed going south on Ohio Street, maybe a couple of months ago, they had 4 or 5 of those cherry pickers just to the west where Cable and Ace Hardware is, or that credit union is.
Yes.
And they were all working up there.
We talked about that in the last meeting. Unfortunately, that area there is under the state control because of US 20.
Right. And
There's nothing we can do about it.
But it's NIPSCO. And I noticed driving from like Franklin on Paz Road to Johnson Road, same thing there. And just a couple weeks ago, I was driving from like Hitchcock towards Porter County, and they didn't have all the trucks clumped together, but in LaPorte County and then past County Line Road into Porter County, there were 4 or 5 trucks spread out for several miles cutting on the north side of 20. So is there any, I know Adam had mentioned at a council meeting about a canopy study. Did he ever produce any results from that baseline thing?
I don't know. I think that was in the process of the study. The funds had been through a grant, had been secured, and I know they were going to go out to bid on it. So that's where we are on that.
So my main question and comment is about this NIPSCO replacement stuff. And I mentioned to him briefly at the council meeting about this NIPSCO stuff. And on Beacon.Schneider Corp, there's a pictometry thing that you can go back in time to see these, like, it's similar to Google Maps. So you can go back in time and see the different canopies and stuff anywhere in LaPorte County. So you're aware of that, and I just didn't know how much information or if there's anybody to gather information, just to sort of, if you don't know what's going on, how can you help or control it or manage it?
Well, I don't want to throw Adam under the bus, but I think this goes back to our full-time forester issue. I think, and I had talked to Adam about it, that we needed to be a little bit more proactive when it came down of dealing with NIPSCO and them doing line clearing. If they did line clearing on public property, on private property, that little area there, the homeowner can refuse them to do it. They have that right. But then that's why they send Arbormetrics, which is the middleman, to talk to the two people, and they make them sign, it's a work order telling them what they're going to do, and they cannot basically take down a tree unless the homeowner signs off on it, or of down 20, that's the state. The state's not going to tell them that's when they can't do it.
Depending whether it's a city street or a county road or a highway, the easement's from the center line so many feet left and right. So
right.
But enough about that. So at least you're aware of it a little bit.
Like I said when we started this conversation, NIPSCO has started a very well-involved electrical...
Comprehensive.
Yeah, comprehensive.
Ongoing.
It's going to be ongoing for a while, but it was in dire need of it.
Multi-county.
Okay. That's what they promised us. And that's
my last topic, just to move along. Has anyone here gotten an invitation from that new board, the Sustainability Commission? That might be someone that might be able to support what you're doing. And I went to the first meeting where, they're just getting started, and they talked about, sort of communicating or...
I've not heard anything about it. Nobody's reached out to us.
I have. Yeah, I met with Nancy Molnauer yesterday after the council meeting, and I told her that they plan on attending the tree board meeting, somebody from their group, and if they can't do it, that I will be their go-to person. I mean, I believe Sharon Carnes is the liaison to it, but since I sit on the tree board with any issues with the tree board, they can't make it, then I'll be the communication between them and the tree board.
Great. All right.
But they did reach out to me.
Great.
Sorry.
I'm not familiar with what it purposes.
It's kind of like a kind of environmental keep up in different projects, kind of go after grants, and
they besides electing officers, the first meeting, they thought they should set up some committees, so they set up 4 committees. One was quality of life, or like clean air, clean water, stuff like that. The other was waste management, like recycling, and there were a couple others, maybe transport, like walkability, bike paths and stuff. I mentioned, there's all this recruitment for large, businesses and growth, but I think a lot of municipalities and politicians it's like a Ponzi scheme, growth, where you need to look more on sustainability, quality of life. Like we lost Radio Shack, we lost the vacuum cleaner shop, we lost the shoe repair guy, we lost the ski area in Valpo, we lost a couple marinas and marine supply stuff. Thank goodness we've got B&E Marine still, which contributes greatly to the city in this area. But speaking of that, I was behind B&E Marine the other day where they have all these boats on trailers ready for the customers to take out. Behind the zoo, there's a chain link security fence. There's, besides along the street where you drive by and see all the NIPSCO clearing, there's a lot of communities like Pop Park and, where the power lines are in the alleys. And I know other places in Sheridan Beach like that where they've cleared that. So behind the zoo, north of B&E's security fence, there's power lines, and you can see where they cut down trees and limbs there too. So that's it. So.
All right, thank you. All righty. The next meeting here is slated for July 3rd. We're going to have to move that back a week, probably to July the 10th. Anybody have any issues with July the 10th?
No.
Debbie, will you please? Thank you. All righty. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Hi.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.